Welcome into JacksonSun.com. I'm Brandon Shields, the sports editor of the Jackson Sun, here with our local college sports writer Craig Thomas. And Craig is about to head north up to Frankfort, Kentucky for the NAIA women's tournament. The tournament used to be in Jackson, now will be in its second year in Kentucky. And Craig, before you head out, just if you could just give us a little bit of a preview of Bethel and Freed-Hardeman, who are going to be playing at the NAIA tournament. Also, Union will be playing in the NCC AA tournament up in Indiana also this week.
Right. Well, I guess we'll start with Freed-Hardeman. They're playing first. They'll be playing Wednesday. They're number one seed, the number one ranked team in the country right now, 31-1. So obviously, I think probably one of the favorites to go really far. They'll be playing West Virginia Tech in their first game. I think the thing that's kind of on your mind if you're Freed-Hardeman is you don't want it to be like last year where they also had a number one seed and they lost their first game. They were the first team in 4 years to have that happen to them, and it was not a fun scene after that game for them. I know they had a real hard time with that, and that's normal because that's a shocking loss that you shouldn't have. But I think that probably they'll be thinking about it a little bit. I talked to Coach Neal yesterday, and he was saying that it's on your mind and you talk about it and make sure just kind of work hard to avoid it. Mm-hmm. But obviously they should be considerably better than a couple of the teams they played the first couple of rounds. They've played excellent defense really all year. They've had a couple of bad moments, I suppose, but really no just stinker of a game the whole time.
They've been challenged very few times, especially in the last couple of months. If you're an FHU fan, does that worry you coming into this thing?
I don't know. They haven't. The thing is that when they've been challenged, it's been a team that's still not as good as they are. Mm-hmm. I don't think they've faced anybody that's a top 5 or top 10 team. I think that's probably the bigger concern. Because if you watch the Trans-South Championship game against Martin Methodist, that was a challenge. Mm-hmm. They won by 8, and Martin Methodist was in that game the whole time. And the Bethel semifinal beforehand, I think it was about 14 points, but Bethel was in it for most of the time. So I would say they were reasonably challenged in both of those games. If they're going to win a national championship, we'll have to beat teams better than those two to do so. So I think it's something that you think about. But I think if nothing else, the loss that Freed had last year should motivate them to some degree through the early games that they're expected to win, if they're not motivated already, which I imagine they are.
All right. Well, speaking of Bethel, they've had nearly a 2-week break since the Trans-South semifinal loss at Freed-Hardeman. Talking to Chris Nelson, what he had to say.
Well, he wants them to be physical, and that's not surprising to hear that out of him. I think he wants them to avoid fouls, and you want the silly kind, but you want the good kind where you're rebounding and you have a toughness, because that's something that he's all about. That's kind of his buzzword is toughness, mm-hmm. And I think he's been trying to develop that, and I don't think it's where he would really like it at this point, but it's good enough to where I think he feels a sense of confidence that they can compete at least in an early game. They'll be playing. They're a 6 seed, so they'll be playing a team that's seeded higher than them. Benedictine out of Kansas is 27-5. It's their first time in the NAIA tournament, so that's probably I think a good thing for Bethel, considering how many of their major players have very little or no experience in the NAIA tournament. It's kind of a wash.
Right.
But Bethel do their dribble drive thing, I'm sure, where they kind of penetrate with Jacqueline Street and Alicia Gentry, look for a shooter like Katie Van Dyke. That's when they're at their best, that's what they're doing pretty well offensively.
All right, and then one other team that's still playing, Union, will be in the NCCAA tournament up in Indiana. This tournament only has 8 teams, but there's a lot of familiar opponents for Union.
Yeah, one of the teams is Shorter, which is transitioning to a Division II right now. Mm-hmm. Then you've got a couple of teams that are kind of holdovers from the old NAIA days that were pretty good back in the day. Mm-hmm. So Union will see some teams it knows. Roberts Wesleyan is not a team it knows, a team out of New York that I know Campbell didn't know a whole lot about just because you get film kind of late for something like this. He probably knows quite a bit more now, but I think the fact that Union has Shelby Ashcraft back in the post and Mildred Almazi is finally back after sitting out most of the year, makes them a little bit more well-rounded team. And they shot threes really well again at Bluefield, so they're going to be competitive because that's what Union does. They're going to be competitive with any of those teams that they play.
All right, so when's everybody's first game of the week?
Union will play a Wednesday up in Indiana, like I said. Freed will be playing Wednesday afternoon. I think around here it'll be about 4:45 Central Time, and then Bethel plays late Thursday night. They have actually the last first round game of the tournament So they'll have Wednesday off and play Thursday.
Yeah, so for those of you who remember the NAIA tournament, Union or Freed or Lambeth would usually be like the second to last game, and everybody's leaving. There'll be one more game. Bethel's in that game. So I know covering those games, there'd only be like 15 people left at Omen Arena for that last game.
Right.
So enjoy the exciting atmosphere of that one, possibly.
Yeah.
All right, but continue to stay in the loop for what's going on for our local women's college basketball teams this week at the tournaments. You can follow Craig on Twitter at
West TN Colleges. Obviously, updates from the Freed and Bethel games for sure. And Union, we won't be there in person, but anytime they have a final or something like that, we'll tweet that out, of course.
And we'll also have updates as often as we can here on JacksonSun.com, and Craig will have recap videos from Frankfurt each night, and possibly some preview videos for the following day.
Yeah, we'll see how well I hold the phone on my gun.
Yeah, good luck with that, and but thanks for watching, and keep checking back here with us at JacksonSun.com.